Welcome back to the Journeys in Business series. I'm Jess, owner of Jess Creatives, and in this series, I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs to hear about their journeys in business and lessons they have learned. Hey Heather, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Jess, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, so for those who don't know you, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your business?
So my name is Heather Crabtree, and I guess there's a lot of things I've done, but I'm now the founder of the Savvy community, but it started as the Savvy Business Owner, so you might know me from that, the Facebook group. I was a business strategist. I've done a lot of things, let's just say that. I've been a lawyer, I've been a wedding planner for 11 years, and then I started coaching female entrepreneurs. So it's been a long journey, which I'm sure we'll discuss a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that's what I do now. I'm more of a mentor, but I run programs, online digital programs and products now. So
yeah, fun. So what is your favorite part about what you do?
gosh, there's so many, but I think the cool thing, honestly, this has been a journey that was not really planned out. My plan was to be an attorney, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I thought I would be. And then I had something happened to me personally in my life, which Jess and I have had lots of conversations about. And maybe, I don't know, we'll talk about that today or not, but that led me into really on a different path that I had not imagined. And so what I love doing now is I feel like I'm kind of like the connector. I love connecting people in ways that, connecting them to other people that they may have never met before. And I see the amazingness in people that maybe they don't see themselves. And I'm able to be like, shine the light on them and then connect them with people that are going to help them. And then also connect them with people that I think are good for them and for each other. I don't know. I feel like that's I think there's so many things that again, on my path that I've really loved, but I love connecting people. And that I think brings it back to community. And there's kind of a story throughout my life about how community is so important to me. And I knew it growing up, and then it was kind of taken away from me in a sense. And I kind of yearned for it. And and then when I was in the wedding world and I was in the legal world, I never felt a part of anything. I always just felt like I was being talked down to, and I was never going to be the cool kid. I was never going to be the one that people asked me to speak at the things that I wanted to speak at or do the things I wanted to do. And so I finally just said, okay, fine, then I'll just create something. Or I'll find I didn't say I'll create something. I said, I'll find a group of people that we'll kind of create our own community. Community.
Yeah.
And, it's led into something much bigger than that now, but that's kind of how it all started. So that's a long story to say that I love community. I love growing community, and I love connecting people at each other. So
yeah, I remember when I first joined the Savvy Facebook group,
yes,
I almost left it at first. Like I joined and I was like, there's a lot of wedding planners in here. I don't think I'm supposed to be in here. And then I just stayed because I was like, well, like, let me give it a little bit of time. And now it's like one of my absolute favorites. And like you do really create community. Like there are so many, not just me, but like I've seen a ton of other people who connect in the Savvy community, and then there's like collaborations or partnerships or even just like getting clients or swapping blog posts. Like it is amazing how much that people connect in there. And you, like, I always picture you like having this list of people at your desk, like a little like Rolodex of like, oh, you're searching for an illustrator, like here's these people. Like I love that about you, because it seems like you always know somebody for when they're like looking for something. And I always picture like Heather looking through her little Rolodex of like, oh, you need.
I don't have a Rolodex. But I just lost my ear. Hold on. That was a tool that I learned from my father, actually, because just how to connect people and to pay attention.
Yeah.
So he would always come back from, my father's now deceased, but he would always come back from these amazing business ventures, right? And he would know so much about these people. Oh gosh, I hope this isn't gonna make me tear up. I haven't cried about him for a long time, so let's hope it doesn't go there. But it really made me aware of like the relationships. It wasn't about just getting the job or getting more business. It was really about the relationship. And I saw how he cared about people so much. And he did it strategically and intentionally too.
Right.
Like, he did write down people's names and what their, you know, their pets and their families' names, all that stuff. He used to write that stuff down. And so I learned that at a really young age, like in order to really get to know people, you have to do it with intention and have to put in the work. So it's not just, you know, people make it seem that relationships and having friends and building business relationships is so easy, right? We see all this all the time. And I think that it isn't easy. It's something that you have to do the work and actually to make it work great. And for him, I always saw him doing this. And then he would call these people and not really want anything from them, but always getting more business from them because he just did it with heart and soul and just really loved on these people. And so I learned that from my father, you know, really early on. And so I do that now. That's what I do. That's what I learned it from. So
do you remember when you first started the Savvy Facebook group? Like did you grow pretty quickly, or was it like you stayed at like 50 for a few months and then or like, how did you grow the community?
So how I started it was really, again, I had come from the wedding world, which I felt like I was a lost puppy in, even though I was a part of it for 11 years. Some people would look at it and go, oh, they did really well. Like I had a business partner. We had amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
I had met a lot of amazing people. I just never felt like I really wanted to move into speaking and educating more. I knew that was always kind of my plan. I didn't know how that was going to happen. I thought it would, at that point, I thought that would be in the legal world at the beginning. Then I thought once I got into the wedding world that would be my role. And eventually it did. And that's what led me to this. But when I started the Savvy group, it really just came out of a need of like, I want to feel a part of something and I want to feel like I'm doing something good. And if no one else is going to recognize me, I want to be in a group of people that like get it, that are the same group of people as me, or going, you know what? No one ever sees me. No one, you know, we've had this conversation. No one ever hears me. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I feel like I'm doing all the right things. And still here I am. And not that it has to be like, oh, I want people to see Heather, or I want Heather to be famous. Like I'm talking like third person. It's not for me to be famous. I don't care about being known in that way. I want to be known as a person that made an impact and did really great things for other people. And so I felt like if I was feeling these things, which other people were thinking, I see it, they would say, oh my gosh, you've done such amazing things. And I was just like, but I feel like I'm never accepted, even when I do all this stuff. So that's why I started the group, just like, okay. And it was a time when I was starting an online business and I knew nothing about it. This was after I took Marie Forleo's B School. Mm-hmm. I was just in a whole new world. I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this existed. This is amazing. And so I was like, okay, there's other people out there. And so the reason why there were so many wedding planners at the beginning is because that was my background.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And no, it was a small group at first, and it was just, and it remained a small group for a while. People just don't remember that part of it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 10,000. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You're like, no, it started out with zeros, just like everybody else. So
yeah. I think for a little while, I still thought you were a wedding planner.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think I was when I started the group. I don't believe. So when I started my business, heathercrabtree.com, which then turned into the Savvy community, I was still a wedding planner technically, but I really didn't, when I say I started that business, I started the website, but I didn't have a business. So I didn't do anything. I tried a whole bunch of things. I was going to things and learning. I mean, I was going through this whole, like, again, it was like a kid realizing like, whoa, there's this whole other world out there that I never knew in business, like, and I come from a business background. Like that's what I studied in college. I was a business management major. So I knew all the book business stuff. I went to law school, so I definitely knew that really well. And so I grew up in a world where my dad built not his own business, but like basically came from nothing and became really successful.
Yeah.
And so I just had that within me, but I will tell you that it's, again, what you see now is not how it started.
Yeah.
But, I took all those things that I knew. I like to share the story because once I got through my journey and I kind of got to a place where I was like, oh my gosh, why am I not further along? And this wasn't too long ago. This is when we sold the wedding planning business. I thought, oh my gosh, why am I not where I'm supposed to be right now? Like, this is not where I envisioned myself.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would be a wedding planner for 11 years. That was like, I say that was my creative detour. But what it led into was coaching other people in the wedding industry, which then led into coaching and consulting creatives in general. And that's really when this business started, is when I made the jump and that's when we sold our wedding planning business. So there was a little bit of an overlap where I was still doing some planning.
Yeah.
And consulting too. So yeah.
Fun stuff. I remember when not when I first started my business, but it was like year 2, maybe 3. And I was in one Facebook group, which is kind of crazy to think about, only being in one.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember I just stumbled across this blog and it was like, join my Facebook group. And I was like, there are people who do this full time? What?
Right?
Like, I did not know anybody at that time who did it full time. Not a single person. Like, I didn't even know all this stuff about freelance. Like, I was just like, oh, like, this is just my side thing. Like, I work at night. It's cool. And I did think, like, maybe in 20 years, I'll, like, own my own business and, like, have an office.
Look at you now.
Now I know here I am, not in 20 years. Shorten that.
Well, and that's for me, just to kind of, again, I like to share like the real deal of how it all happened. And for me, I basically owned 3 businesses at once. So I had the wedding planning business with my business partner. And then we managed that. We did a few weddings, but they were really high-end weddings that her and I did. And then we managed our whole team. And then we had the wedding consulting business. And we had quite a few clients with that. So we were doing that. And then I had started heathercrabtree.com. Then I realized that the heathercrabtree.com part was what was firing me up and where I could see me headed. I think in the wedding world, I felt stuck. I felt like I had reached even though I know that there was a lot more that I could do, I felt like I had reached kind of my peak of what I could do in that industry and what the industry was going to allow me to do. I guess that's kind of the thing I felt like. I really wanted to speak on a stage and I wanted to speak at some big conferences. And I was applying for those and actually had someone, not the person that ran and I won't name the actual conference, but, not the person that ran the conference, but somebody that was really close to them. And she said, they'll never ask you to speak because you're just not in like the circle.
In the circle. Yeah.
And I was like, which is funny because that's what I call one of my programs.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that because that's what she said to me. And it killed me because I was like, oh, you're going to tell me that this is all I'm going to do, that I'll never be up here. Well, I'll show you kind of, attitude. And that's what led me again to create something where I was like, well, I don't want anyone to ever feel that way.
Yeah.
I want a place where people are uplifted, where people, there isn't the people that these are the cream of the crop people and that you'll never be them.
Right.
And I always feel like people that are new in business have so much to give and we can learn so much from people that are new in business. They have like this fresh perspective. They're so excited about business, which is what I love about meeting new people. I think there's so much opportunity for you as an experienced business owner by hiring them and listening to them. And I felt like in that position, they were just like, you're never going to get there. And you're never going to be the person to like talk, to give that, to educate. But then you're also, I don't know. I felt like you'll never be the cool kid. Is kind of what I felt. Like, yes. But then we're not allowing you because we're the untouchable. So no one's going to ever get to our level. Yeah. And we're going to uplift, but just enough. So it's still,
yeah.
And I just don't like that. I don't think that's,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like you started this group because you were like, I want to welcome everybody. And part of the reason that I started this podcast was like, no one's asking me to be on a podcast.
Yes.
So I'm going to start my own. Yes. And like you said, we have so much to learn from like new business owners. Mm-hmm. And while I talk with a variety of people and experience, it was like, I know a lot of people, a lot of like my business friends are people that other people don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I want you to be on my podcast. Like, I want to put your name out there. Even if I don't have a huge audience, I want somebody else to know you.
Yes.
And so it's like, and
that's how I started the Savvy community as well. I saw these amazing people that were doing such fabulous things in their industry or with their role, and people didn't know their names. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And instead of going to the top people, that everyone, that's exactly what you're saying on your podcast, which I love. It's you go to the people that you're like, you know what? We're going to do this together and we're going to lift each other up, and I'm going to find ways to get you out there. And that's really how the Savvy community grew. I mean, like I started doing webinars with people that I just thought were amazing. Amy Northard, Mary Beth Storjahan. These are people that a lot of people now in the Savvy group, everyone knows their name, right? Yeah. There's always, you say an accountant and, Amy, she's my accountant too, but, Mary Beth Storjahan, you say financial planner, her name always comes up. And that's because these gals, people weren't saying their names at that time. And they were known in their segment, but they weren't known to the bigger community. Yeah. And I don't want to say that in a way like, oh, I made them, because they
no, but like it makes sense that you.
But I connected the people that I was like, oh, well, these people aren't being seen. And sometimes and you'll relate to this, but sometimes it's the people that, are quieter and, don't think that they need to shout. Yeah, or
that's me.
Look at me kind of things. And those people don't get recognized. And so I was just like, no, this is gotta stop. So I started doing those webinars, and the cool thing, it was helpful for me too, because A, I was learning stuff. B, I was hosting them because I had all the webinar stuff. Mm-hmm. I had known, I didn't at the beginning, but I started to really know how to get, do that really well and bring them on. And it was providing the community with so much value. Yeah. But that helped me grow my business too. So it was kind of like, again, growing up together. So, and then all those gals that were at the beginning, those were also the people that spoke at my Savvy experience, because they were there at the beginning when no one, when Savvy wasn't savvy. So
when Savvy wasn't savvy. Yep. So you've kind of already touched on this, but I'm wondering if there's anything else. What would you say drives you in your business?
Oh, well, some of the bad things that drive me is perfectionism.
Amen.
I'm a perfectionist, recovering. I think there's two big things. Again, when my father passed away, when I was in law school, that just changed. It flip-flopped my whole life. And flip-flopped just pretty much everything I thought. I was in a place where I was like, I went to school to become a lawyer because that's what you did, and then I realized that wasn't my dream. That was my father's dream. And I think that as I kept going, that moment definitely was life-changing for me. But it opened my eyes to so much more. And it motivated me, because my father really was a big, he really knew that education was so important. Yeah. So I continued on in law school and graduated because I wanted to make him proud. But I also learned from him that money
you don't have to have a lot of money to start a business. And that's, you know, when I was starting a business, or even when I was in law school, and, you know, my dream was to have my own law firm. I only saw people, well, first of all, that's a whole other conversation, being like one of the only women that, you know, in a law firm. So that was a huge motivation for me at that point. Like, oh, I'm going to show you. And then as a wedding planner, I think I stayed motivated because I felt like that industry at the time, I felt like there were so many things that we could take from other industries and it could make that industry better. And so for me, I guess I'm a self-motivator. So I don't need someone else to continually motivate me. I do that myself. I'm driven, very driven, to the extreme sometimes. But I think also, I always want to be learning and educating myself. I don't know. There's a lot of things that drive me. Obviously, my family are a huge drive for me. I want to be able to help support them and give my kids an amazing education. Although I think it'll be very different from the education that I got and the way that I got an education, or I hope it will be, because I just don't think that's the way that we're headed. And I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of things. I think personally, you know, in my life, there were a lot of things. I think when you have those moments in your life and something is taken away from you that is so, so dear, everything's put in perspective. And so when I was 22, 23, my eyes opened up to like a lot of pain, but a lot of independency of like, I'm going to do this on my own, and I'm going to the world kind of mentality, which took me down a whole other path, you know, too, which isn't a good path to always be in, because then you're always trying to prove yourself. But I think it also showed me like, you don't need all of these material things and all, you know, all the money and all like the fancy cars and all that stuff just isn't important to me. So when I started this business, I really started it with what is the core of, you know, what is the heart of the business.
Yeah.
And I live by that. And so that motivates me. So things like helping other women. And I think that, you know, from the beginning when I was in a law firm, that again, it's a kind of to prove yourself kind of thing, but I know what it feels like to be like the only woman in a law firm, and, you know, the men surrounding you. And I know it's changed, you know, since I've been an attorney, but, you know, no one wanted to pay attention to me. I was young too, you know, I was 22. No, I was the young kid on the block. You know, all the women that were surrounding me were in the office were all admin people, admin ladies. And they didn't want to listen to me either, because who's this girl who's 22 that's coming in that thinks, and I wasn't that personality. I wasn't like, oh, look at me, I'm the, you know, 22-year-old attorney. Right. And it was just a really interesting time for me that really has shown up in a lot of ways in the way I do things, because I just don't ever want any, especially, and this is why I'm so passionate about women. I also have seen, I used to be a mentor to an organization called Fresh Start for Women. And I would see, you know, how circumstances had led them in a different path, but just brilliant women that I knew if they had been given the opportunity that they could be doing all the amazing things I was doing too. And so again, it's just a heart of like giving back to women and helping them, uplifting them, giving them the resources, educating them, connecting to other people, because you can connect to one person, it can change your life. I don't know. There's so many things. So sorry, that's a really long-winded.
No, that was
a short answer for me.
So. No, I don't want short answers. So if you could sit down with yourself in that first week of starting your business and tell yourself something, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, hang on for the ride. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that it's easy to go back now and say, oh, well, this is what I would tell myself.
Yeah.
Back then, I think that, you know, what I hear a lot now, I guess it's easier for me to say, like, what would I say to somebody that I see kind of in those same shoes?
Yeah.
Like just starting a business. Because I don't know that I would say anything different to the girl before, because I think those are just lessons that you have to learn. And
I could say, hey, it's going to be hard. It's, you know, hang on for the ride. There's going to be a lot of bumps along the way, but obviously, yeah, that's not going to change. That's just going to happen no matter what.
Yeah,
so that's
no matter what.
But I think for people starting now, I think there's a big kind of, or there was, I don't know if that's still going on, but there was this thing about like not hustling, like when there was too much hustling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would see this of like, you know, you don't have to hustle, or, you know, and I think it almost got to an extreme where we're like, I guess I saw it where people were thinking that things were going to be so much easier. So it was just going to like take your baths and like, you know, do all these amazing things, make sure you take care of yourself, which are all important things.
Yes.
But there's different modes that you have to be in. So you can't always be in the hustle mode, because then you go to burnout and overwhelm and all these things. But I felt like that type of speak led people to believe that it was much easier to be an entrepreneur than it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to show people both sides. I like to say, look, you're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to do the work. It is not going to be easy. So anyone that tells you that it's easy being an entrepreneur, well, don't take offense from that, because they're lying to you.
Yeah.
But I also think there is that other side of it where you can't always be in that. And I was in that place for a long time, of where you're just hustling, you're working hard, you work yourself, and then something has to give. So I was in a place where I was like, I'm a horrible mother, I'm a horrible wife, I'm a horrible business owner, I'm a horrible manager, you know, and then it's just so destructive, because you've been hustling for so long that you can't stop.
Yeah.
So I get that, but I do think there has to be that hustle at the beginning, because if not, you won't make it through year one.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
what does it look like in your business to take breaks, or like, how do you actually do that in your business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I like to be honest, and I'm fortunate enough now, because I've been really intentional about not being able to take on everything myself. I have 2 little ones at home. I only work 3 days a week. And although that sounds really glamorous, it's not. I have to really be intentional about where I'm doing things, and where I'm putting my time. And so I have to say no to a lot of things. I get a lot of opportunities, but I just have to say no, because my kids come first, always, foremost. I mean, always. But I will say the biggest thing that's been beneficial to me is getting help.
Yeah.
And so, but I like to be realistic, because not everybody can hire on, you know, I have a pretty big group of people that help me now. But 2 years ago, I had nobody. It was just me.
Yeah.
So I like to say that, and just show that there is hope, because people think that it can't be done. Mm-hmm. I pay for everything myself. I don't have a trust fund. Yes, my husband's an attorney, but his money from his business does not run not into my business. So I always like to put that out there. Like, you know, I worked really hard. Mm-hmm. And I started really realizing that in order to be to be a good mom and to be a good business owner, I needed to find people that were going to support me. And what that looks like, though, is that I don't get, like, there's probably a lot more people out there that are actually getting a lot more money, like in their bank accounts, like in their personal bank accounts.
Yeah.
I am, because I have to pay a lot of that out to my team.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that has been really helpful to me, to really to take the time and be intentional about growing my team.
Yeah.
And then I also, for me, you know, making sure I do take time for myself. So like, we're in a launch mode right now, and it's crazy, especially with the holidays, not the best time to be able to be launching. We're in like launch prep, I guess I should say, for the new thing. But during that time, I take baths. I make sure that I take nights off if I am, because I am working late, you know. Yeah. If I have my son on Mondays and Fridays. So in those days, it's maybe a few emails, it's looking over things. It's never calls. It's never interviews. It's never like really intentional work happening. Yeah. So on the days that I don't, you know, I have to really make sure that everything that I'm doing and that is basically going towards the bigger goal of like, what are the things that I really want to be doing? And then like taking time off. And for me, it's not like big vacations right now. It's not just where my life is with my kids and our businesses, and my husband's in a really crazy business time right now too. But it is taking time away to go with them. So like, it's cool to be able to to take time to go do fun things with them.
Yeah.
And so
even just day trips.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a week-long vacation. Like just getting, I've sometimes gone on like a day, like just spend the day down in Atlanta, and it's like, I'm still like here. I'm not anywhere like fabulous and fun, but even just getting like out of the house, out of the office can make a huge difference. And like, I've done a few weekends this past year of like, okay, I'll take Friday off and like really try to not work all weekend. And it's amazing how much better I feel on Monday.
Yeah.
Every time I'm always like, I need to do this more often.
Yeah. I don't do social media on the weekends. So that was a big change. And weekends are pretty much off for me. Mondays and Fridays are pretty much off for me too. If I need to do some things, my team knows how to get a hold of me, but on those days I don't really work. So yeah, it's hard. It's challenging. So I only really have about, I would say 15 to 20 good hours a week, because otherwise I'm dropping off kids, I'm picking up kids. So, it's hard because I have a lot of people that like, let's do calls, or and I have to say no to those. And it sucks because sometimes I'm just like, oh, that would have been so amazing. Or, I see people doing all these really cool things, or they're like producing a lot more than maybe I produce right now. But I also know the time of my life that that time is spent for me. I would love to spend that time with my kids more than on my business. And so I think you just have to figure out what that is for you. I mean, but I mentor a lot of younger women that, they're in their hustle mode, and I say, go for it. That's okay. It's just, you can't be in that hustle mode for the whole year. It's unhealthy.
Yeah. And I like how you said, everyone's on their different journey, like they're in their different place in like their life personally and also in their business. And there's no shame in like, I only work 15 hours a week. This is like, kids are more important to me, or whatever it is. Like maybe you still work part-time. Like everyone's on their different journey. I think sometimes people get too caught up in like, well, she works a full 40 hours. Like, well, I need to be able to do that. And it's like,
well, and I think, we get in, especially in the online world, we get wrapped up in this, let's make 6 figures and let's make 7 figures. And that's great. But like, that doesn't happen overnight. And there are some people that make 6 or 7 figures that I know who like ended up in the hospital or are really, really like burning themselves out. And I think they've learned that lesson. They're not doing that now, but I think you have to be careful. The goal should not to be the 6 or 7 figures. That's an amazing result that you get, but that shouldn't be what drives you. And if it does, you're always going to be in that continual hamster wheel of it's never going to be enough, no matter how much you get. And so for me, I definitely have financial goals, and I know where but I also know that path that I had to take to get me there. So it wasn't overnight. It wasn't by myself. I've had to hire a lot of people to help me. That means that equals a lot of dollars that I could be taking in. But then, those are things that I say, okay, if this person's going to handle that, then that's valuable to me. So I get my time back. And so when I say I only works 15 hours, well, there's a lot that gets done without me at this point. And that's not how it was. I mean, I went through a time with my husband. He was like, look, something's got to give. You're working until 2:00 in the morning every night. The kids would say to me, Mommy's always on her phone. And I was like, I'm not living my life that way anymore. And so for some people, that's their way, and that's okay. To each their own. I think you have to figure out what works for you. But I think it's a caution to be really careful about maybe not knowing everything about a person and just pinpointing, oh, they do this. Well, she only works 15 hours a week, then I can do that because, and make a lot of money or, grow a big community or whatever. And what they don't see is the behind the scenes stuff that happens or the things that I did to get there. So it's easy to look at people. I mean, we all do this to ourselves, right? It's try not to compare to other people. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know where they at, what they're, just so many things. I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish you had done differently?
Yeah, there is. I think when I started adding on team members, I was not a good manager at the beginning. And I realized now I came to a point where, I don't manage the team. I have a business manager that does that. And I'm really the visionary, the leader that comes up with all the crazy ideas. And then they help me actually do those and execute those. Because what happened was I hired my first person and think that everything that, because everyone's telling me this, well, you shouldn't be doing that. And you shouldn't be doing that. You have someone help you. So I'm like, oh, there's this magical person out there that can do everything that I don't like doing. And we can still make a ton of money and like help a lot of people. And that's just like, okay, well, yeah, eventually that can happen. But in year one, yeah, probably not. And there's really not this magical person that can do everything that you don't like doing, So I handed everything to her. And then what I realized was that she got burnout, she wasn't happy, and she only liked doing a part of it. So that part of it was bookkeeping, which she still is my bookkeeper. She still does that for me. But I took everything else off her plate. And I had to take that back on and then find other people. And I think it's hard growing a team and having people underneath you or, team members. It's really, really hard. And if you're not a good leader or a manager, and those are two different things. Mm-hmm. So if you're not one, either if you're good at one and not the other, or you're not good at either of those, you have to find people to help you with that. If you're going to bring people on. And I see people bringing on team members and hiring all these people because it's the thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't always think that's the next step these business owners should be taking.
Yeah.
But it's the cool thing to do, everyone get a VA, everyone get a business manager. And it's like, no, again, you have to see what works for your business. Is that what your business needs? Is that what you need in your life?
Yeah.
For me, if I didn't have those things, my business wouldn't run. People say, how do you get stuff done all the time? Well, because I have these people, but again, I pay them a lot of money to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have been able to do that 2 years ago. I didn't have any money to pay people, Yeah. So I just did all the work and I busted my butt to do it,
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Yeah. So what's on your plate for 2017?
So hopefully some rest.
Yes, we talked about that. So we're going to make it happen.
2016 has been a whirlwind. It's been an really amazing year of growth, but I'm ready to chill for a little bit. But of course that probably will never happen in my life because just of my nature. So January, we are launching the Savvy Community, which is a membership site for female entrepreneurs. And I'm super, super excited about it. Something that I feel like we've been leading up to a long time, even though you asked me 6 months ago, this wasn't even a part of the plan. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited about it. I want a place where what happens with Facebook groups is that they grow really large and then they become really a place, especially for people that aren't the people that are like, hey, look at me, the extroverts.
Yes.
I think that it becomes a place of overwhelm, and it does this to extroverted people too. I think it grows big, and then in Facebook the way it is right now, Facebook groups the way they are now, the limits that you have on them. Mm-hmm. I think that it becomes a place that becomes a distraction instead of a useful tool.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm not a part of a lot of Facebook groups because I don't think a lot of them are, and this is not to put me on a pedestal, but a lot of them are not run well. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are negative places to be, and not all of them, but I've been in a lot before that I just had to okay, I'm out, because if you can't bring me positivity, and that's why I love the Savvy group, mm-hmm. I feel like it has always been a place of positive connection, collaborations, lifting each other up. But again, even it has its limits. And I felt like it got to its limits of being a useful tool for people. So the membership site
will be a place that we will have forums. So we'll have savvy meetups. So we have our different, each city will eventually around the world will have a city leader. We have a whole bunch launching in January. New city, savvy city leaders. We'll have a lot of cool things happening in the membership site. Hot seats. We'll eventually have, I'll run my, have courses in them. That's not in there right now. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening with the meetups. And I love that it's not just an online resource. It's actually, and this is what I truly believe in as a business owner. I think that you need real relationships. And I think in the online world, we've kind of gotten away from that, where it sometimes seems really surfacey. And sometimes it's just for, that person's gain, and it's not about helping anyone else. Yeah. And so I really wanted to get back to the heart behind the Savvy group. And that was to have a place for female entrepreneurs to come, and this is the tagline, to create, connect, communicate, and collaborate. And also education is a big part of that too. Mm-hmm. So we'll have monthly trainings in there, just a lot of really cool stuff. I like to do things, people are saying I'm crazy. How can you taking yourself out of the Facebook group and really just doing membership? And I like to do things when they're crazy and people think they aren't cool things. So, and who knows, we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited. That's and then writing a book this year. That's my big thing. So
I love that. I'm excited about both of those things.
Yeah. And of course my program that I run, the Savvy Business Circle, I'll run that again. We're in the second group. Jess was in the first group. We're running the second one right now, and then we'll run another one every fall. We run them. So
nice. Awesome. Yeah. So where can we find out more about the Savvy community and everything else you're working on?
Yeah. So you can go to thesavvycommunity.com and join right now. Depending on when you watch this, it might be just a place where you can be the first to know when we launch, but we will be launching in January of 2017. And then it is a membership site, so to be a part of it. But the cool thing is, the other thing I didn't mention is the members will be blogging for us. So we want to really give away, we've got a new YouTube channel. So we want to really be showcasing the people that are in the group. Mm-hmm. And I used to do that all the time in the Savvy group, but it got so large that it's hard to showcase. So yeah, just getting back to the grassroots. So anyway, thesavvycommunity.com is where you can find that. And then eventually later on in the year, when I get into book writing, you'll find more about that at heathercrabtree.com, and Instagram is my jam. So that's usually where you can find me. And that's at Heather Crabtree, at Heather_Crabtree, because another Heather Crabtree has my name. So at Heather_Crabtree, and then the Savvy Community is the Instagram for the new membership.
Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super honored to be here, and I'm excited that we look like twins today.
I know, right?